If you're feeling stuck or like something's holding you back, this one's for you. Sometimes it's not about what we start, it's about what we quit. And today I'm going to show you 3 things that I quit that transformed my life forever. And let me tell you, these things changed everything. Let's get into it. Grown man balls is something you got to deal with. Nah, what's goody, fam? Listen, this is a little bit different. This one. Not really, but just stay with me. Life been lifing, and it seems like even in my tribe, people that I'm connected to, there's life lifing. And it got me to thinking about what really took me to the next level, like what allowed me to evolve, what allowed me to grow, because life has always been life and people have always been people and things have always been going on. But there have been moments in my life where, I've like seen, this like dramatic change, this like boom in my life. And it made me think about those times and what it was that allowed me to experience growth. And I realized that there was a bunch of things, but for the sake of this video, I really thought about 3 key things that stood out to me. 3 things that I quit, I let go, that allowed me to really grow, right? Shout out to my bro, Jeremy Anderson. He says that you got to release to receive, right? You got to release something to get something. And I remember being in a position where I wanted to simply just be the absolute best version of me at that given moment of time. I wanted peace. I wanted fulfillment. I wanted purpose. And if I'm being even more honest, I didn't want to be angry anymore. I wanted to be able to shed. I wanted to be able to heal. I wanted to be able to let things go. And so I thought about this trifecta, these 3 things. So first thing that I quit doing was I quit the need for the approval of others. I quit. I let it go. Let me say this. I've always been me. Anybody that knows me knows I've always been me. I've never been a follower, always been a leader, always been on my own type of time. Never really cared about what other people thought, other people's opinions. People would, you talk to my parents, maybe even talk to my wife now, and they'll tell you like, I'm pretty, headstrong. I'm pretty like focused. When I say the need for approval, it really came in 2 forms. The first form was, a childhood wound of mine, right? Connected to my father. My father has always been in my life, but it hasn't always been in the way that I wanted it to be. And, my father is a very stoic kind of individual. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty similar, but I remember I remember growing up with a lot of anger, with a lot of resentment, with a lot of just confusion. And it made me get very, very obsessive about being better than my father, about getting things right that I thought that he got wrong, being able to take what he did and elevate another step ahead, another step above. So for a good portion of my life, unfortunately, I lived in competition with my father. I've always admired my father. I've always had the highest level of respect for my father. You let my mother tell it, I was a daddy's boy, right? I've always loved, admired, respected my father, but there was a healthy competition that I don't know that he realized, but I was competing with him. And I can say from going to therapy, I can say from having time to reflect, I can say from just maturing that was really a need for approval for him to say, I'm proud of you, for him to give me his blessing. And everything that I was doing was to do something in the world that was so impressive or so magnificent that it would force him to give me this thing that I wanted that he never gave me, right? Not really big on praise and like affirmation. Again, very stoic, very much a coach, a guider, but like, nah, he ain't on all that other stuff. So a lot of my life was in competition. And what I realized was you can't you can't really give focus and give energy to the things that you're purposed to do if you're spending all of your time, competing with somebody else. If you're looking over here versus right here, yet your energy is not going to be in the right place. Your focus isn't going to be in the right place. And it really took for me to get probably in my mid to late 20s, right? It really took for life to like start getting really real for me as a grown man, for me to like be like, yo, something needs to change. And something needs to change because I need to change, because what I've been doing has not produced the result that I want. I'm not I'm not seeing the fruit that I want to see. And so I would say I really embarked on this journey probably around like 27 is when I came to peace with. You're not judging me, right? And there's a judgment free zone. All right. 27, I came to peace with like, yo, you left me some shoes to fill, and I respect those shoes. I see the wear and tear. I see the dirt, the scuffs. I see all the sacrifices. I see those shoes that you left me, the shoes that I'm supposed to fulfill. I'm supposed to wear. I'm supposed to put on, and walk out until it's my time to pass them. You left those shoes to fill. You left me those shoes to fill, but those shoes don't fit me. Those shoes are not my size. Those shoes are not my style. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those shoes, but those shoes don't fit me, my version of manhood. And it took for me to get to that place with maturity, with love, with understanding, with compassion, and for me to really say, yo, I appreciate you thinking enough for me to leave those. But I got my own pair of shoes, and I'm going to walk these out, and I'm going to still honor and respect what was done for me, but I need to go in my path, in my direction. And I would say up until that point, my teenage years, even my 20s, I really struggled with feeling like I wasn't disrespecting, you know, my parents and their sacrifice. So I was always me, but it would always feel like I was in rebellion because I needed to be me. I needed to be authentic, but I also at the same time wanted to be respectful of, my parents and their sacrifice and their name and their position and their posture in the community and etc. So that need for approval, that need for me to hear my father say, I'm proud of you, or I bless that. And me just saying like, yo, if he bless it, cool. If he don't, it's cool. But what's most important is I gotta be me. I gotta do me. I gotta do my do. If he rock with it, cool. If he don't, it is what it is. But I've matured enough to be understand that came from a childhood wound that needed to heal. I just needed to mature in that way, and sort of let that go. And when I did that, that was a tremendous healing for me. That really like soothed a lot of inner hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of scar, and removed a lot of scar tissue from me. I would say, the second piece to that would be I needed approval from my children that I was a great dad, that I was a good dad, that I was, this superhero. I mean, it was connected to the first piece around my father, but, I got to a place where I realized like, oh, I'm still performing for these little people that I created. I'm still performing for them. I gotta be superhero. I gotta be Superman for them, and that's not real. You know what I mean? Like, we're human. And I learned in a really difficult way that, you know, I can't protect my children from life, and I shouldn't sell them the facade that I can. And so, it really was maybe in 2019 when I was able to really, like, those were the last people that I needed to get approval from. I needed to posture for. And I can say that it's been freeing. I feel light. I feel free because there's nobody that I feel like I have to do any type of fronting, any type of performing for. And I never quite understood just how important that was. I remember my father telling me one time that I gave him the gift of honesty, that he was able to be his full self with me without feeling like there was going to be judgment or I was going to take things personal or something like that. And I realized that, I was putting on for my children, not because they wanted me to, but because I felt like I needed to. And so, I experienced something that allowed me to sort of release that and sort of heal and put that to bed. So first thing, quit the need for approval. Quit the need for approval from others. Thing two, the second thing I quit giving away my power. What I mean by that, I quit blaming others and I quit making excuses. I quit. I took complete ownership, extreme ownership of my life, of everything that has happened, that has occurred in my life. I got to a point where, how they say, like, you experience rock bottom. Like, I was in rock bottom's basement. And the only way for me to get myself and pick myself up and to figure out to make motion in the right direction was I had to just take extreme ownership. And that meant I had to stop pointing the fingers and blaming people or making excuses or I don't want to say scapegoating. Pardon me. I don't want to say scapegoating, but sometimes we find valid reasons why something isn't happening. And it makes logical sense to other people, right? Other people would agree. And it's almost this self-perpetuating story where you become a victim in some sort of way. You're giving your power away. And the one thing that I learned was there's power in being a victim. There's power. That's why some people like to play victim. There's power in being a victim. And I also learned that in being a victim, if I'm a victim, I can't do anything to change my circumstance. If I do anything other than take extreme ownership, I can't change my circumstance because I gave the power to something else outside of me. And so I stopped. One of my mentors told me, it's not your fault, but it's your problem. And I never forgot it. It's not your fault, but it's your problem. It's not your fault that, your father wasn't in your life. I'm not saying this is me, but I'm just saying it's not your fault that your father wasn't in your life. It's not your fault that, your mom was on drugs. It's not your fault that, you grew up in poverty. It's not your fault that, you grew up in, public housing in the projects. It's not your fault that you got a disability. It's not your fault, but it's your problem. Meaning it's your responsibility to figure out a solution to do something about it because this life is yours. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody. You got to save yourself. So yeah, I quit blaming others. I quit making excuses and I took extreme ownership. Like Jim Jones said, I got up off my ass and I got to it. Yeah. Thing three. And this has been something more recently. I quit going at things. I quit doing life alone. I quit doing life alone. I quit going about doing things by myself. I have always been a loner. I'm an introvert. I love time with me. I love isolation. I love solitude. I love being able to reflect and being able to process. But I remember there was a time I was doing a leadership program and my coach in the program, she told me something very important. She said, you can do anything. You can make anything happen. but you can't do everything, at least not by yourself. She said, you can do anything, but you can't do everything, at least not by yourself. And it kind of took me aback, but the more that I sat with it, the more that I processed, the more I realized that she was right. I was making things and have been making things unnecessarily difficult for me because I've been going at them alone. I've not been asking. I've not been picking the phone up. I've not been going through my Rolodex and tapping in with my network and asking if someone can help or if someone can make a recommendation. I've been resistant. I've been resistant with building a team and having partners in business. I've been hesitant with building relationships. And again, it comes from needing to heal old wounds. And so, I grew up, I grew up in the street. I grew up, in an environment that was very violent, very hostile. And so part of my defense, part of my coping, part of my survival was really not allowing people to get too close, not allowing people to be able to predict me, and sort of keeping people at respectful distances, not allowing people to sort of see my vulnerabilities or be indebted by asking for help. And it was a successful strategy. I speak about strategies for success all the time. It was a successful strategy for that. It was successful. It got me out. It made me survive being in the street. But being an entrepreneur, being successful, you need a network. You need to be inviting. You need people to feel like you're approachable. You can't build an enterprise without a team. You can't do everything yourself. And I've had my big bros, I've had mentors tell me, yo, you need to build a team. You got to stop doing this alone. And the moment I expanded my comfort zone, the moment that I allowed myself, the moment that I operated in trust, in abundance, everything shifted. Everything. The moment I started doing business with people, having business partners, the moment I started working with people, whether it was hiring or contracting people to work with me, to support me in things that I needed to do, everything took off. The moment I started leaning into vulnerability in my personal relationships, my relationships bloomed. They became deeper, more meaningful, and you know, even with myself, I started going to therapy. I stopped dealing with me alone. I stopped going at life with me by myself. All of those things changed me for the better. It changed my life for the better in ways that I couldn't imagine. I've seen exponential growth personally as a human being, as a vessel, but also in the things that I've been able to create, things I've been able to produce and do in the world, results I've been able to create. And it was because I quit doing life alone. And so if you're watching this and you're struggling, if you're watching this and you feel like something's holding you back, take some time to look at things that you need to start doing, things that you need to stop doing, and things that you need to continue doing. It's not always about the things that you start. Sometimes it's about the things that you quit. And these are 3 things that I quit. I quit the need for approval of others, my father and my children. I quit blaming others and making excuses. And I quit going at life by myself. I quit going at life alone. I quit those 3 things, and everything in my life transformed for the better. And I'm not saying that you need to do those 3 things, but I need you to take inventory. I need you to self-assess. And I need you to identify the things that you need to stop doing, the things that you need to quit doing, the things that you need to release so you can receive what's next for you in the next season for the new and improved you. If you know what those things are, holler at me, talk to me, drop it in the chat. Let's have some dialogue. But what I want you to take away is Take 5, 10 minutes, pen and pad if you need to, and write down the things that you are committed to quitting so that your life could be different. I want the best for you, and I'm only sharing what I did, and that's my journey, but figure out what you need for you and yours, and tap in with me. I'm out.